All right, kids, we're back and we're in the middle of talking about electric circuits. And we've looked at current, which is measured with an ammeter. It measures how many electrons go zipping by in a wire in a circuit, how many coulombs of charge, all created by electrons, go by. We've measured voltage, measured with a voltmeter, and it is a way of describing how much energy is carried by those charges, joules per coulomb. And we've talked about things like, a 9-volt battery carrying 9 joules per coulomb in terms of energy and charge, or a 120 volt outlet, and so on. So we've got these quantities, current measured amperes, voltage measured in volts. We've got these quantities in electric circuits. So what we now want to do is look at different parts of an electric circuit and the symbols that are used to represent these parts. Now, the parts of an electric circuit are divided into four main categories. The sources of electricity, things like a power supply, here's a symbol for a power supply, or a battery, or a solar cell, or a generator of electricity. That's the sources category, and they have their own particular type of symbol. They create and give the electrical energy to the electric circuit. Then the second category is known as loads. They use up the electrical energy and convert that electrical energy into something else, like a light bulb. A light bulb takes the electrical energy and converts it into light. Here's the symbol for it. There's other things like speakers and motors and heaters and resistors and things like that. The third category of parts of an electric circuit are meters. Things like a voltmeter measures how much voltage you get at a source, how much voltage you lose at a load, like this. And an ammeter, here's the symbol for it, measures how many amperes of current are in a particular part of a circuit. That's the symbol for it. And then things like connectors. An example of a connector would be a wire. It's basically a line, straight line like that. Now, these are just a few examples. If you want to find more symbols, it's on page 447 of your textbook. And you can find all of those symbols. Now, if we were in class, and we're not, I'm disappointed by that, miss all your smiling faces. If we were in class, this would be the first circuit that we would set up. And we would have a source like a battery. And then the battery would run to an ammeter. And then the ammeter would run to the light bulb. And then the light bulb would run back to the battery. And we would have current leaving here, and the current would go all the way through the circuit and back to the battery. And the ammeter would measure how many amps, how many amperes of current there was. And then what I would get you to do is use a voltmeter, and a voltmeter would be attached across. So the word is across the load. In this case, the electrical load is a light bulb. You could also put a voltmeter here if you wanted. You could put a voltmeter right across the battery if you wanted. But voltmeters have to be across uh, a load or a source. That's the way it works. And it would measure how much voltage is lost at the light bulb, at the load. And I would have you set this up, and it would be lots of fun, and people would get it done quickly and giggle with their friends, but you can giggle at home. Now, I don't want to have to find all these little image clips to create a representation of a real life circuit that you would have built in class. I don't, that's too much. So what people have done is they've come up with the symbols that I introduced to you in the other page just a few moments ago, and they create what is called a circuit diagram, and there it is. So instead of having those pictures, we use symbols. Now this is a circuit diagram of a simple circuit because there's one load, there's the light bulb, and there's one source, there's the cell or the battery. So here is the circuit diagram that you would draw for that simple circuit that we just look at. So we put the symbol in for the battery, we put the symbol in for the ammeter, we just put the symbol in for the light bulb, the lamp, we put the symbol in for the voltmeter, and then we add the wires where needed to complete the circuit, and that would be a circuit diagram. And this is our first circuit diagram. We started with a simple circuit. Now, most circuits don't have just one load. Most circuits have more than one load. And one of the ways that you can arrange, let's see, arrangement, one of the ways you can arrange the loads is in a style called series. Series load arrangements, and the loads are arranged one after another, all with the same current. Now, you've seen the word series before. I'm watching a TV series. Why is it called a series? Because it's one episode after another episode after another episode. All right, I really enjoyed watching the Last Dance on Netflix, all about the Chicago Bulls of the 90s. I remember watching that as a younger person, actually. It was really good basketball. Or what else? Well, basketball playoff series, right? Oh, it's the playoff series. Why is it called a series? One game after another game after another game. Same thing here. Here is a battery. We set up the battery. The current leaves the positive end, goes to a load, goes to the next load. In this case, it goes from the load known as a light bulb to a load known as a meter, and then to the next load, which is a resistor. It's an electrical device that heats up. And then the current goes back to the battery. Now, when you have this type of arrangement, if you take a look here, the current only has one path. Follow my cursor here. The current only has one path, which means that the current that leaves the battery and the current that enters the battery is the same. And the current that leaves the battery and enters the light bulb, we call that current here I3, is the same. Nothing's changed. You can't lose current. Think about water moving through pipes. There's no water to be lost. As long as everything's sealed up, you're not going to lose current. And then the current continues here. It's still the same current. Same current in the motor, which I'm calling I2. And then we continue through here. Now the current goes through here, the resistor. I'm calling that current I1. It's the same current. So we write an equation down for this series of a load arrangement. The current that leaves the source, leaves the battery, is the same as the current that goes through the first uh, load, and the same as the current that goes through the second load, and the same as the current goes through the third load. I could have 50 million loads in here. They'd all be the same. So that's current. What about voltage? Well, the electrons, the charges of the coulombs of charges that leave the battery, so they've got energy, they've got energy, they've got energy. The charge is carrying energy. Oh, I'm going to lose some energy here, and that energy is going to be converted into light. It's a light bulb. And then the charges continue. Oh, I'm going to lose some energy here. I'm going to make the motor spin. Energy is lost here. And then the charges continue. And they get to the resistor. Oh, going to lose some energy here. Going to make this heat up. And now they've got no energy left. And they go back to the battery to be re-energized. It's like going shopping, right? Oh, I'm going to go to EB Games and buy a Nintendo Switch. Yeah, good luck with that. So you give up some of your money there. Oh, I'm going to go to the dollar store, buy some candy, give up some money there. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm going to go to Mickey D's and get a Happy Meal. And then, oh, I don't have any money left. I better go uh, recharge, get more money. I don't know, at the bank machine or something like that, the ATM. That's the way it works. So we write that as an equation right here. The voltage at the source, S is for source, is equal to the voltage drop at the first load plus the voltage drop at the second load plus the voltage drop at the third load. So that is series load arrangement. Now there's another way to arrange loads. And the other way to arrange loads is called parallel load arrangements. Loads are arranged in different branches of a circuit, each with their own current. So here is a circuit diagram for that. Here's the source, and the source has a certain voltage Vs. And then look what happens to the current. Positive flow, right? Current leaves the positive end of the source. Follow my cursor. Some of the current goes into branch 1. Different electrons, different charges go into branch 2. Different charges go into branch 3. And then they all recombine up here. And at this point, by the time the current gets to this point, current 1, 2, and 3 has all been recombined, and it goes back into here, and it's IS again. So current source that leaves, current source that comes back, they have to be the same. You don't lose current. There's no place to leak out electrons. It doesn't happen. All right? But what does happen is it's split into 3. Some goes here, some goes here, some goes here. So we have an equation. The current that leaves the source is equal to the current in the first branch plus the current in the second branch plus the current in the third branch. See how this is different from the series arrangement? Because it's a different looking circuit. All right. And I could have 57 branches. And I just keep on adding them. All right. That's how the current works here. Now, I'm not saying that it's divided into equal thirds here. Oh, no, 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 no. That's something we still have to figure out. Maybe most of it goes through here and only a little bit here and even a tiny bit here. I don't know. I just know if you add them together, they add up to what was the current at the start when it left the source and the current that goes back into the source. Next, voltage. So here's what happens. You've got some coulombs of charge leaving the source, and they've got a certain voltage here. I don't know, let's pretend it's 12 volts, right? Now let's follow some particular part of that current. Some of that current goes through the light bulb and then back to the source. So those coulombs of charge would follow this path, got 12 volts, going to use up 12 volts and back to the source. Now let's follow another set of charges. Some other sets of charges will go through the second branch. They still had 12 volts. Oh, got 12 volts, going to use them up at the motor. Boom, used up my 12 volts and back to the source they go. Now let's look at a third part of some of these charges. So got 12 volts, not going there, not going there, going to go through here. Got 12 volts, that's what I got from the voltage source. Oh, got 12 volts, going to use them up right here in the resistor, going to create some heat, and back to the source we go. So some of the charge goes through the first branch, some of the charge goes through the second branch, some of the charge goes through the third branch. So since the charge has been split up, each part of the charge, each part of the current loses the same voltage. So we have voltage at the source is equal to the voltage drop at the light bulb, V1, the voltage drop at the motor, V2, and the voltage drop at the resistor, V3. They're equal. Very different than the series load arrangement. This is parallel load arrangement. Now, who discovered all of this stuff with series and parallel circuits and how the current is acting in one and how the current is acting differently in the other one, and the same thing with voltage? Well, it was a gentleman named, how do you think that's pronounced? It's actually Kirchhoff. Kirchhoff's law of electric circuits. And there's two of them. There's Kirchhoff's current law, and it says that a current entering a junction point is equal to the current leaving a junction point. Or another way of saying it, current is neither lost nor created. Whatever current it has, it follows a single path or a set of parallel paths, And that's it. You don't lose any, you don't gain any. And when we apply this law to series circuits, we get this. Current at the source is equal to the current in the first load is equal to the current in the second load is equal to the current in the third load, and on and on and on if there were other loads. We looked at that a few moments ago. If it's in a parallel situation with multiple paths, current at the source is split up. So the current at the source is equal to the sum of the current in all the individual branches. I1 plus I2 plus I3 plus, well, how many you have. So Kirchhoff's current law looks different in terms of a mathematical equation depending on the type of circuit that you have. Then Kirchhoff came up with the voltage law. And it said the following: in any complete path, a complete path goes from source to the loads and back to the source. The voltage rise at the source is equal to the sum of the voltage drops at the loads. And that looks differently in terms of equations when it comes to a series or parallel circuit. And we looked at that a few moments ago. Remember, in a series circuit, the voltage at the source is equal to the voltage drop at the first load plus the voltage drop at the second load plus the voltage drop at the third load, and so on. That's because the current actually goes through all three loads. There's only one path. So this is the equation. In a parallel circuit, voltage from the source is equal to voltage 1 at the first load equals voltage 2 at the second load equals voltage 3 at the third load, and so on. That's because different parts of the current go through different branches. The current doesn't go through all the loads. Some goes through one load, some goes through another load, and so on. We talked about that a few moments ago, and that's why we have this situation here. So that's it for today. I'm going to give you some other stuff to look at, all the homework to do and reading. It's going to all be posted on today's announcement. Don't forget, you've got your final assessment task. Don't forget that. Very important. Have a great day. Bye-bye.